Hey, what's you guys? It's Brian here. I just wanted to make a video on debates. So since the first GOP debate's coming up and a potential debate between Ron DeSantis and Gavin Newsom's coming up, and it's debate season, third parties will be debating too. I figured I would talk about my favorite debate moments and show you clips of them and then talk about them. There's 8 clips in total. I did not choose a particular 10. These are just particular ones I think of. I'm only going to stick to presidential, so let's get right into it. These are general election and primary clips. I also have some third-party debate in here. Alright, guys, so let's get right into it. So, at number 8 is this one, General Stockdale, old 1992 vice presidential debate. Alright, let's play the clip.
Who am I? Why am I here? I'm not a politician. Everybody knows that. So don't expect me to use the language of the Washington Insider. 37 years in the Navy, and only one of them up there in Washington. And now I'm an academic. The centerpiece of my life was the Vietnam War.
Alright, guys, so this is just the first 10 seconds of this clip is so funny when he goes, "Oh, who am I? Why am I here?" It's just amazing. Yeah, because he was the third-party candidate's VP running mate, so yes, it was just so funny. Hearing that in the debate, so yeah, just really funny. Great guy. Rest in peace, General Stockdale. Alright, let's continue on with this clip.
I was there the day it started. I led the first bombing raid against North Vietnam. I was there the day it ended, and I was there for everything in between. 10 years in Vietnam, aerial combat, and torture. I know things about the Vietnam War better than anybody in the world. I know some things about the Vietnam War better than anybody in the world. And I know how governments, how American governments can be courageous and how they can be callow. And that's important. That's one thing I'm an insider on.
Alright, guys, yeah, so that was General Stockdale in the VP debate in 1992. Oh, alright, so this actual next clip is actually a vice presidential debate, too, so, yeah, let's get right to it. Alright, between Dan Quayle and Lloyd Bentsen. Alright.
I don't mean to beat this drum until it has no more sound left in it, but to follow up on Brett Hume's question, when you said that it was a hypothetical situation, it is, sir, after all, the reason that we're here tonight, because you are running not just for vice president.
It's a very fair point that news reporter made. Very fair point.
And if you cite the experience that you had in Congress, surely you must have some plan in mind about what you would do if it fell to you to become president of the United States, as it has to so many vice presidents just in the last 25 years or so.
Let me try to answer the question one more time. I think this is the 4th time that I've had this question. And I think that 3 times that I've had this question, and I'll try to answer it again for you as clearly as I can. Because the question you're asking is, what kind of qualifications does Dan Quayle have to be president? What kind of qualifications do I have, and what would I do in this kind of a situation? And what would I do in this situation? I would make sure that the people in the cabinet, the people and the advisors to the president are called in, and I'll talk to them, and I'll work with them. And I will know them on a first-hand basis, because as vice president, I'll sit on the National Security Council. And I'll know them on a first-hand basis because I'm going to be coordinating the drug effort. I'll know them on a first-hand basis because Vice President George Bush is going to recreate the Space Council, and I'll be in charge of that. I will have day-to-day activities with all the people in government. And then, if that unfortunate situation happens, if that situation, which would be very tragic, happens, I will be prepared to carry out the responsibilities of the presidency of the United States of America. And I will be prepared to do that. I will be prepared not only because of my service in the Congress, but because of my ability to communicate, to lead. It is not just age, it's accomplishments, it's experience. I have far more experience than many others that sought the office of vice president of this country. I have as much experience in the Congress as Jack Kennedy did when he sought the presidency. I will be prepared to deal with the people in the Bush administration if that unfortunate event would ever occur.
Senator Benson?
Senator, I served with Jack Kennedy. I knew Jack Kennedy. Jack Kennedy was a friend of mine. Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy.
All I gotta say is perfect. All I have to say is perfect.
What has to be done in a situation like that,
You're only taking time
is to call in the
away from
joint.
your own candidate.
That was really uncalled for, Senator.
You're the one that was making the comparison, Senator. And I'm one who knew him well. And frankly, I think you're so far apart in the objectives you choose for your country that I did not think the comparison was well taken.
Tom, a question.
Yeah, guys, that clip is just amazing. That's one of the most iconic debate moments in history. I mean, he owned Dan Quayle. Of course, Dan Quayle's team ended up prevailing in the election, but it was true. Dan Quayle should not be making comparisons that he's got as much experience as Jack Kennedy when he has absolutely no experience, and the experiences were much different. And yeah, so should not be going around making experiences like that. Now, this next one isn't more so like a zinger of a debate. This next one is just more so of a like comments that a candidate said in the debate, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, on to the next clip. This was the third part debate. This is John McAfee.
Each other multiple times. There is not one iota of difference between any of us in terms of our principles. Decriminalize marijuana, bring our troops home, end the madness of our education system, reduce the size of government, hamstring the DEA, and let all of the people out of prison who are non-violent crimes.
It's just the only thing I wanted to show. It wasn't long, but very true. I mean, bring the troops home, get people out of prison for not violent crimes, decriminalize marijuana. Things I agree with so much. That's why I include that clip in here. It's one of my favorite of all-time clips that a Libertarian Party said. John McAfee, rest in peace, John McAfee, did amazing in that. Alright, guys, on to the next clip. This is probably very similar to what's going to happen to Ron DeSantis on Wednesday night. What Chris is going to do to him. Alright, so let's just play the clip.
He knows exactly what he's doing.
Hold on, guys. Just got to rewind back.
I
Sorry.
will say, if politics becomes, and the presidency becomes about electing the people who have been in Congress or in the Senate the longest, we should all rally around Joe Biden. He's been around 1,000 years. He's passed hundreds of bills, and I don't think any of us believe Joe Biden should be president of the United States. And let's dispel once and for all with this fiction that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. Barack Obama is undertaking a systematic effort to change this country, to make America more like the rest of the world. That's why he passed Obamacare and the stimulus and Dodd-Frank and a deal with Iran. It is a systematic effort to change America. When I'm president of the United States, we are going to re-embrace all the things that made America the greatest nation in the world, and we are going to leave our children what they deserve, the single greatest nation in the history of the world.
Senator Rubio, thank you. I do want to ask Governor Christie. Governor Christie, you said, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, when it comes to electing a first-term senator. You heard Senator Rubio make the case that he does have the experience. Your response?
Sure. First, let's remember something. Every morning when a United States Senator wakes up, they think about what kind of speech can I give or what kind of bill can I drop. Every morning when I wake up, I think about what kind of problem do I need to solve for the people who actually elected me. It's a different experience. It's a much different experience. And the fact is, Marco, you shouldn't compare yourself to Joe Biden. And you shouldn't say that that's what we're doing. Here's exactly what we're doing. You have not been involved in a consequential decision where you had to be held accountable. You just simply haven't. And the fact is...
Exactly. You know, I wouldn't have voted for Chris Christie in 2016, but you know what? It's a fair point. You know, I would much rather have a mayor or a governor or be president or even a high school principal, someone who actually has to solve problems every day. I've said a mayor, a governor, even a high school principal, someone who has to solve problems every day, show leadership when leadership is needed, and be held accountable. And a United States Senator and a Congressperson does not have that, especially someone who's been barely in the first term like Marco Rubio. So, great point to Chris Christie. Great point. Let's continue on, guys.
Fact is, when you talk about Hezbollah Sanctions Act that you list as one of your accomplishments, it just did, you weren't even there to vote for it. That's not leadership, that's truancy.
And that's true too. You know, Marco Rubio is one of them people that don't like, one of them senators that don't like to show up to their job. So, yeah, just putting that out there.
The fact is that what we need to do, what we need to have in this country is not to make the same mistake we made 8 years ago. Fact is, it does matter when you have to make decisions and be held accountable for them. It does matter when the challenges don't come on a list of a piece of paper of what to vote yes or no every day, but when the problems come in from the people that you serve. I like Marco Rubio, and he's a smart person and a good guy, but he simply does not have the experience to be president of the United States and make these decisions. We've watched it happen, everybody, for the last 7 years. The people of New Hampshire are smart. Do not make the same mistake again.
If I may respond,
Thank you.
Senator Rubio. I think the experience is not just what you did, but how it worked out. Under Chris Christie's governorship of New Jersey, they've been downgraded 9 times in their credit rating. This country already has a debt problem. We don't need to add to it by electing someone who has experience at running up and destroying the credit rating of his state. But I would add this, let's dispel with this fiction that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. He is trying to change this country.
Damn, how many times is he going to say that? Oh my god, he keeps repeating himself.
He wants America to become more like the rest of the world. We don't want to be like the rest of the world. We want to be the United States of America. And when I'm elected president, this will become, once again, the single greatest nation in the history of the world, not the disaster Barack Obama has imposed upon us.
Senator Rubio, thank you. I do want to bring in Governor Bush on this.
Hold on
because
one
you
second.
made this.
Excuse me.
If you'd like to respond to economic...
I think he directly mentioned me in my record in there, so I think I get a chance to respond. You see, everybody, I want the people at home to think about this. That's what Washington, D.C. does. The drive-by shot at the beginning with incorrect and incomplete information, and then the memorized 25-second speech that is exactly what his advisors gave. See, Marco, the thing is this. When you're president of the United States, when you're a governor of a state, the memorized 30-second speech where you talk about how great America is at the end of it doesn't solve one problem for one person. They expect you to plow the snow. They expect you to get the schools open. And when the worst natural disaster in your state's history hits you, they expect you to rebuild their state, which is what I've done. None of that stuff happens on the floor of the United States Senate. It's a fine job. I'm glad you ran for it, but it does not prepare you for president of the United States.
Exactly. Exactly.
Chris, your state got hit by a massive snowstorm 2 weeks ago. You didn't even want to go back. They had to shame you into going back. And then you stayed there for 36 hours, and then you left and came back to campaign. Those are the facts. Here's the bottom line. This notion that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing is just not true.
There it is.
He knows exactly
what he's doing. There it is, the memorized 25-second speech.
Well, that's the reason why this campaign is so important. Because I think this notion, I think this is an important point. We have to understand what we're going through here. We are not facing a president that doesn't know what he's doing. He knows what he is doing. That's why he's done the
Repeat yourself some more, Marco.
things he's done. That's why we have a president that passed Obamacare and the stimulus. All this damage he's done to America is deliberate. This is a president that's trying to redefine this
Oh yeah, because he just wants to kill America, right? He wants to destroy America.
country. That's why this election is truly a referendum on our identity as a nation, as a people. Our future is at stake. This election is not about the past. It is about what kind of country this is going to be in the 21st century. And if we elect someone like Barack
Well, the country afterwards, like Donald Trump and Joe Biden have left, it's pretty damn terrible.
Obama, a Hillary Clinton, a Bernie Sanders, or anyone like that, our children are going to be the first Americans that inherit a diminished country that will not have
Governor Christie,
you know what the shame is? You know what the shame is, Marco? The shame is that you would actually criticize somebody for showing up to work, plowing the streets, getting the trains run back on time, when you've never been responsible for that in your entire life. And
just such fair points for Chris Christie. You know, I don't agree with Chris Christie all the time politically, but Chris Christie is really a good debater, and I'll make a little prediction here. He's going to do that to Ron DeSantis. And if Donald Trump ever does debate him, he's going to do that to Donald Trump. Mark my words.
And the fact is, I went back, it got done, and here's
didn't want to go back.
I went back, wait a second, is that one of the skills you get as a United States Senator, ESP also?
Chris, everybody,
I don't
you
think
said
it
you
is.
weren't going to go back.
The fact is, Marco,
he told everyone he wasn't going to go back. They had to shame him into going back.
Marco,
And then when he decided to go back, he criticized the young lady saying, what
Marco,
am I supposed
you know
to do,
what?
go back with a mop?
By the way,
clean up the flood?
it gets very unruly when he gets off his talking.
Thank you, Governor. I will mention you.
It's your record. It's not a talking point. It's your record.
Great clip, guys. Such a great clip. Alright, on to the next clip, guys. Alright, this is very similar to what Chris Christie just did, except it's on the other side of the aisle. Alright, guys, let's play the clip.
I want to bring the conversation back to the broken criminal justice system that is disproportionately negatively impacting black and brown people all across this country today. Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked
amazing. Just amazing.
evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Senator Harris, your response?
As the elected Attorney General of California, I did the work of significantly reforming the criminal justice system of a state of 40 million people.
No, you didn't.
Which
you made it worse.
Became a national model for the work that needs to be done. And I am proud of that work. And I am proud of making a decision to not just give fancy speeches or be in a legislative body and give speeches on the floor, but actually doing the work of being in the position to use the power that I had to reform a system that is badly in need of reform. That is why we created initiatives that were about re-entering former offenders and getting them counseling.
The bottom line is, Senator Harris, when you were in a position to make a difference and an impact in these people's lives, you did not. And worse yet, in the case of those who were on death row, innocent people, you actually blocked evidence from being revealed that would have freed them until you...
Oh, and Kamala Harris gets exposed. This is the night when Kamala Harris goes from 3rd and 4th place in the polls down to 9th and 10th place. So, yeah, just continue watching, guys.
You were forced to do so. There is no excuse for that. And the people who suffered under your reign as prosecutor, you owe them an apology.
Our Democratic Party, unfortunately, is not the party that is of, by, and for the people. It is a party that has been and continues to be influenced by the foreign policy establishment in Washington, represented by Hillary Clinton and others' foreign policy, by the military-industrial complex and other greedy corporate interests.
Senator Harris, any response?
Oh, sure. I think that it's unfortunate that we have someone on this stage who is attempting to be the Democratic nominee for President of the United States, who during the Obama administration spent 4 years full-time on Fox News criticizing President Obama.
That's
who
ridiculous,
has spent
full-time.
Yeah, Kamala, it's called constructive criticism. She was a supporter of Barack Obama, but she spoke up when there's stuff wrong. That's what you do. It's what moderates do. It's not like what radicals, socialists like you do, Kamala Harris. So, for what you don't know, it's such a trap.
Criticizing people on this stage as affiliated.
Constructive criticism.
With the Democrat.
Listen, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, if something is wrong, and people are doing something that is either wrong or that you disagree with, speak up. Say something. Don't be a chicken or a coward like Donald Trump or Kamala Harris.
Party. When Donald Trump was elected, not even sworn in, buddied up to Steve Bannon to get a meeting with Donald Trump.
Yeah, there's a lot of congressmen and women on both sides of the aisle that will meet with a newly elected president. You know, it's a common thing. Congressmen and women, senators, governors and stuff. It's a common thing, so don't act like it's something new, Kamala Harris. Like, she's just doing it buddy up with Trump.
In the Trump Tower, fails to call a war criminal by what he is as a war criminal, and then spends full time during the course of this campaign, again,
Okay, you know what? I'm a fair person. I'm totally on Tulsi Gabbard's side on this, but Kamala Harris does make a fair point. He is a war criminal because he was a draft dodger back in the Vietnam War. He was a draft dodger, so he is a war criminal. But I'm still on Tulsi Gabbard's side, but that is a fair point from Kamala Harris. But Tulsi Gabbard, at the end of the day, is the one that's right here.
Criticizing the Democratic Party. What we need on the stage.
Speaking up what's wrong, try to make a real Democratic Party.
In November, is someone who has the ability to win. And by that, we need...
That's certainly not you. A socialist who's very far left, who's basically a communist, a little bit of a fascist, is never going to be elected president. At least I hope not. I really don't think so, though.
Someone on that stage who has the ability to go toe-to-toe with Donald Trump. And
you certainly can't. You know, many people can, but she can't. Kamala Harris, I want to let you guys know what Kamala Harris is. She's cocky. She's far left. She does not know anything. She's just so cocky because she never had real competition. Well, Tulsi gave her that real competition on a debate stage.
And someone who has the ability to rebuild the Obama coalition and bring the...
She does not have that. Mark my words, had it been Kamala Harris or Donald Trump would still be sitting in the White House right now. Mark my words.
Party and the nation together, I believe I am that candidate.
Thank you, Senator.
You're not.
Congresswoman Gabbard, I'll give you a chance to respond.
What Senator Harris is doing is unfortunately continuing to traffic in lies and smears and innuendos because she cannot challenge the substance of the argument that I'm making, the leadership and the change that I'm seeking to bring in our foreign policy, which only makes me guess that she will, as president, continue the status quo, continue the Bush-Clinton-Trump foreign policy of regime change.
Exactly. That's why libertarians love her, because she exposed that.
Wars, which is deeply destructive.
I mean, guys, Kamala Harris went from third and fourth place. Even some polls, she was in second place. And after Tulsi Gabbard ripped her apart, she went 10th and 11th place. So, yeah, she really fell apart. All right, on to the next clip, guys.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
Okay, I don't like Donald Trump at all, and he belongs in jail. He's a failed president, all that. I totally agree with that. But you know what? That's honestly a funny clip. I can't help myself from laughing at it because you'd be in jail. But even though he belongs in jail, actually both of them belong in jail because they both committed crimes. But yeah, I don't like Donald Trump in any way, shape, or form. But that is just a funny clip. I cannot help myself from laughing at that. One of my favorites. All right, now last two.
I want to raise an issue that I think has been lurking out there for 2 or 3 weeks and cast it specifically in national security terms. You already are the oldest president in history, and some of your staff say you were tired after your most recent encounter with Mr. Mondale. I recall yet that President Kennedy had to go for days on end with very little sleep during the Cuba Missile Crisis. Is there any doubt in your mind that you would be able to function in such circumstances?
Not at all, Mr. Truitt, and I want you to know that also I will not make age an issue of this campaign. I am not going to exploit, for political purposes, my opponent's youth and inexperience. If I still have time, I might add, Mr. Truitt, that it was Seneca or it was Cicero, I don't know which, that said, if it was not for the elders correcting the mistakes of the young, there would be no state.
Mr. President, I'd like to head for the fence and try to catch that one before it goes over, but I'll go on to another question.
You see that, guys? That was just an amazing debate. Ronald Reagan could really use humor. I mean, he owned Walter Mondale right then and there, and that moderator. But, yeah, that was all they had against him in 1984 was his age. Because the economy was on fire. It was doing so well. Old taxes were going down. The debt had gone down. He had kept all of his promises. He got Democrats and Republicans to work together. A lot of people liked him. He had like a 77% approval rating. He was, and he was going to win re-election. The part I respect so much about Ronald Reagan, he's my favorite president. It was really one of my favorites. Is he was 20-30 points ahead of Walter Mondale. He was outraising Walter Mondale by millions. And he was clearly going to beat Walter Mondale, but he still went and debated. He defended his record, and he defended his candidacy, and had showmanship and debated Walter Mondale. He did the same thing in 1980 against President Carter when he was only like 15 points ahead. But still, it's clear front runner. He showed up to debates because he wasn't a coward. Maybe Joe Biden and Donald Trump should do that. Maybe they should debate. Maybe Donald Trump should debate his Republican rivals, and Joe Biden should debate RFK and any other Democrat. Alright guys, on to my last clip here. Also Ronald Reagan.
Sure.
Tries to get the other candidates to leave. They don't. The fireworks begin.
If we may have the first question
Mr. Reagan's mic off for a minute?
So, if you guys don't know, Ronald Reagan paid for this debate out of his own pocket, not out of campaign finance, out of his own pocket.
Is this on? Mr. Green, you turn that microphone. You asked for me if you would. I am paying for this microphone, Mr. Green.
So yeah, initially the moderator just said turn off Mr. Reagan's mic when he was paying for it. So initially, you might say, why was Ronald Reagan paying for a debate? So the RNC back in 1980 said they would fund a debate, but only Bush and Reagan, the two frontrunners, would be allowed to attend. And Ronald Reagan thought, because there were 6 or 7 other candidates, Ronald Reagan thought that every candidate should have a chance to speak their minds and everything. So that's why he ended up paying for this debate. Yeah, so really good person. You know, he didn't care if it raised other candidates. He wanted to make sure everyone's voices was heard. Amazing performance. This is, I always say, Ronald Reagan is who any presidential candidate or president should look up to. Alright guys, so that's it for today. Thank you guys for watching this video. These are just my favorite debate clips. Like I said, thank you guys for watching this video. Wednesday night is the Republican debate. I'm going to be doing a video afterwards talking about my favorite moments and what I thought was interesting and some good points and stuff. Alright guys, so yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for watching this video. Once again, please like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe for more, guys. Alright guys, I'm out of here. Have a good night.